So, this is the last week of our sort of songwriting stuff that where we're looking at other mediums. So we obviously started by looking at poetry, and we spent a couple of weeks looking through some different kinds. And then the last few weeks we've been looking at classical music and sort of exploring how some of the rules that they have in place and some of the structures and um, then trying to sort of apply some of these different rules to how we write. So actually, I think it was yesterday I had a go. So I already had written a song based on what we talked about in the first week of the classical music thing that was using some poems that I wrote before as lyrics. So I had this one song. So then I thought that I would try and take the melodies and the themes from it and sort of change it a little bit. So I've written like a second part to it that's I chose a key signature. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, and then I was working in modes, but using the same notes for the whole thing, but sort of focusing around different chords. So I thought that might be quite interesting to try. So it's not exactly like we were talking about last week when they were saying that they um, would often have like the tonic, and then in the second subject you might be in the dominant chord or the relative minor. So it's not quite like that, but I did have an experiment with sort of changing the structure, and so at the moment it's just piano and vocals, but I'm undecided as to whether I'm going to make it instrumental and sort of layer it up with stuff and take the vocals out and have something else doing the melody, or whether I'll keep the vocals in. So I'm not really sure yet, but I'm gonna have a little play around. But I found it quite interesting. And it's nice to have like thing like when you're a little bit stuck on what to do artistically. It's nice to have different things you can try. Um, so have you had any chance to like have a go at some more songwriting in the last week?
Yeah. So I was similar to you. I wrote one song based on one of the poems that I wrote for Poetry Week,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had the longer poem that I've been slowly turning into a song, but then trying to take the classical influences as well. So at the moment, it's sort of just one large A structure with a almost like developing guitar parts. It starts off really simple and then is adding more and more voices in.
Cool.
Um, and then I'm just trying to figure out where to go from there now, because it feels like, when it reaches that natural conclusion on a section,
Yeah.
it's there, but where now? Because I want to try and do something new,
Yeah.
and a, just a standard chorus probably isn't
Mm.
what I want to be doing. So potentially, I've got a new guitar part that sort of references the old part, but changes its chord structure slightly and puts it into the relative minor. So
Cool.
I might take that as a B section and then move to it's just in big A, B, C sections
Yeah.
and do it from there.
That sounds cool. It'd be cool to hear that um
Yeah.
at some point. Um yeah. So like obviously we've tried to apply it specifically to something we're working on at the moment. But in general, have you found that what we've covered has changed how you've thought about songwriting, or in general, is there anything that you've taken from it at all?
I think it's been really nice to have. It's like open new doors or new ways of thinking that I already necessarily like I knew about, but wouldn't have necessarily thought to put into my work. Um, Not having to conform to, although my music doesn't conform massively structure wise normally, and like my verses are different lengths and have random chord changes to fit melodies. It's been nice to realise that you can take things that I already know and use them in different ways.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I feel quite the same. Um, you know, we've all had sort of music in school and learnt about these kind of things, and especially if you do GCSE or anything above that. Um, I remember doing A level. I did A level music, and at the time I found it really difficult actually. Um, but some of the stuff that you can take from music that you wouldn't necessarily listen to, I think it's just about having an open mind about stuff, isn't it? And
Yeah.
going, why is this the rule here, and then how can we take this? And you know, melody development is a definitely one thing that I've taken that's I'm hoping to keep working on because it's been really interesting. I found, um, yeah, like because we kind of just make it up and then we're like, okay, that's the melody, but actually taking time to think about it and think about where it's going, and um, I found that quite interesting and definitely something I'm going to take away. Um, and I was going to say, sort of, if there's anything that you already did that it's just kind of reaffirmed for you, but I guess, I mean, you've kind of touched on that a little bit already, but like anything that you do anyway that you're like, I see that this is something I do.
And quite a bit of like the poetry rhyming patterns and like especially the unusual ones
Mm,
fit quite well into the way I structure verses quite a lot. Just by accident without even really thinking that's what I'm doing, or without realizing once we talked about it and it was fresh in my memory, going back and playing some of my songs, I was like, oh, actually,
yeah,
this pretty much fits exactly this without meaning to. And you could take the music away from this, and it would just be
yeah,
whatever form of poetry it is,
mm,
depending on the song. And
absolutely.
also how much, like when I studied classical guitar, I did that to learn finger picking, and then I assumed I'd sort of abandoned most of the rules of classical and done my own thing with it.
Mm,
But then looking back, I've realised that I haven't really gone very far from it.
mm,
A lot of the things that I'm doing in whatever styles, even like when we were doing rock school together and all those sort of guitar parts,
yeah,
they're all very classically referenced without really realising they are.
yeah,
There's scale voicings and chord voicings that aren't necessarily your traditional or commercial
yeah,
like rock and pop stuff.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I think it is just a really interesting way of, even if you don't change anything about how you write, it's interesting to sort of explore other genres as a way of um comparing to your own process, I think. Um and it's definitely something I want to try and do a bit more of, like having the classical elements sort of infused within. Um, like I was thinking, it'd be cool to have some kind of string parts in this song, but I didn't want to use MIDI strings, so I thought I've got one of those EBO things.
Oh yeah,
For anyone that doesn't know what they are, they're just like the little black box thing, and it's got a laser. And when you place the laser on a guitar string, it makes it vibrate and play. Um, and then you just have to sort of move up and down the string and it will change the note, and it can sound quite like a cross between a stringed instrument and a theremin. I'd say.
yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah. But it's definitely, I was thinking maybe trying to use that to write parts that sort of mimic what a string section would do. So like having the lower line, like having 3 or 4 lines. So that's something I'm going to have an experiment with, and then hopefully if I get it finished, I'll uh, put up a video um, showing the songs that we've been working on. And that'd be cool if you could as well, just a
Yeah,
little
yeah, definitely.
performance thing. And I guess finally, is there anything that you're doing next? Is there anything you want to talk about in terms of yourself as a musician or as a guitar teacher? It's a promo opportunity if you'd like.
At the moment, and dates aren't set in stone, but there's a thing called Brave Island that the Ventnor Exchange guys who run the Ventnor Fringe are running and
Mm,
are getting together, which is a new arts youth program. that's going to be demoed over the next year, with opportunities for people for all art forms and all different levels. So we'll be running a guitar club on Tuesdays from September,
Great.
which could be a drop-in or book for a half-term period,
Mm-hmm.
and then come and have 2-to-1 lessons, and have the option to meet me afterwards for a coffee and have a chat about music and discuss music with those guys and me and whoever else is in as guests or whatever. That's probably the biggest and most helpful thing for people that's
Cool.
coming. But also just anything that new program's doing, because everything looks amazing and stuff I've seen.
Yeah, it does sound really good. Cool. I don't think. I'm trying to think if I've got anything now. I guess I am looking to do peripatetic lessons on music technology. So if there's anyone that's interested in that, do let me know. I'm doing more projects with independent arts. Keep an eye on the Isolation website because there's loads of new stuff coming up all the time, and it all looks really interesting. So I recommend having a look at that for sure. But yeah, hopefully you'll see some performance videos from us soon as well. Bye bye.
Bye.
I'm just stopping.